Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started.
Okay, where's our drum roll? So hopefully everybody tuned in last week because we're at part 3 and I think the final podcast of the series of smelling the smoke of our patients and trying to de-escalate or prevent a full-on blowout, meltdown, whatever it would be, stop the volcano from erupting here. And so we ended last episode about to segue into a perfect example of how the receptionist didn't see the smoke signals coming. Mm-hmm. And then finally, by the time she tagged out and brought in the person who the question related to, which would have been the hygienist now had to really talk this patient down, and it made her job a lot harder. Mm-hmm. And who knows if she rescued the patient in the end or not. Wow. You know, it might have been too little too late. The patient may never come back again. Mm-hmm. But maybe she did say enough. And I guess this happened to a client of yours. You watched this unfold. Mm-hmm. So to be determined, we don't know if the patient's coming back or not. But I do think there's a lot of good takeaways from this real life example. So I wanted to start there if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think let's do it. So it may be helpful for our listeners to for us to just kind of role play out how this went in real life. Why don't I be the receptionist and you can be the patient. So just to tee it up a little bit further, this patient was specifically upset about, he thought he got a regular cleaning. He wasn't aware that he got a perio cleaning, and it felt like a regular cleaning to him. And so I want to showcase in our little role play here how the receptionist handled it. I feel like she missed the cues, like we've been talking about. She didn't realize he was getting upset. And then I don't feel like she did tag in the hygienist because he was asking questions that she couldn't answer. But the way that she tagged it in was like, oh gosh, you're getting angry. Let me go get your hygienist. Rather than we kind of indicated in our last week's episode, trying to tee her up for success as well. So do you want to role play it out with me?
I do. And I want to be the cuckoo patient.
Okay, good. Okay. So, let's say you walk up. Okay. Oh, hi. How was your visit today?
It was fine.
Okay, good. Well, okay. Let's see. You got your perio cleaning done today. So your portion's going to be $25.
Can you repeat that? I owe you $25?
Yes. Yeah, your portion. So remember, insurance normally pays 80% of your perio cleaning. So your portion is $25.
Okay, so why? I don't understand why I have a portion at all. Like, I got a cleaning today. I get 2 cleanings a year.
Yes, actually, this is one of the ones that the insurance is helping with, but they only pay 80%. They don't pay the 100% because you're a perio patient.
Okay, you keep saying that. What does that mean? I got a cleaning today.
Yes, you sure did. You got your periodontal maintenance cleaning, which is a different type of cleaning. That was the kind of like the...
Okay, so what's different about it? Because I was watching and paying attention today, and there was nothing different about it than a regular cleaning.
Well... I might need to get your hygienist to answer that question.
Why don't you, could you do that?
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Get the hygienist. Hygienist walks up. Hey, so I heard you had some questions about your perio cleaning today?
Apparently you keep calling, you've tagged me as this perio cleaning. I'm guessing y'all are trying to upcode me and code me as something else so you can charge more. But that was not anything different than a regular cleaning. My husband was here last week and I asked him very specific because he didn't owe anything. I'm surprised y'all didn't charge him as this perio cleaning too, but y'all didn't. And he didn't owe anything. And we have the same insurance plan. And I asked him exactly, like, what did they do at yours? They used the little spinny brush thing and you scrape my teeth. That's exactly what I got today. So why are you charging me different?
Well, like we've talked about, this is your perio cleaning. And so you are considered a periodontal disease patient. And so we do the cleaning a little bit differently for you.
Okay, I didn't see anything different. So tell me exactly what was different.
Well, we take those measurements to kind of measure how your pockets are. And then.
So y'all didn't do that for him last week?
We don't do it in the same way. So we did it a little bit differently for you. And then the cleaning's a little bit different because I'm managing those pockets that hold the bacteria like we've talked about.
Maybe I don't remember what we've talked about, but I still don't get why I'm getting charged for this.
Yeah, so it is a different type of cleaning than your husband received because your husband doesn't have periodontal disease. So you actually have periodontal disease. And so that's why we, insurance has us code your cleaning as a periodontal maintenance cleaning.
Okay, well, I'm going to pay the $25, but then I'm calling my insurance company. This is ridiculous.
Oh, okay. Well, can I answer any other questions for you?
No, you're just going to keep saying the same thing over and over again. I'm leaving.
Oh, okay. Well, have a good day. So, what all could we see that went wrong with that?
What all could we see? Because that's pretty much what happened, right?
Pretty much how it went. Yeah. So they were upset. The person was upset because they didn't understand the difference. The receptionist acted very much the way that I just did, and so did the hygienist.
So can we start with the receptionist?
Yeah.
Like, what did the receptionist do wrong or could do different, I guess?
So I think if I really look back at this scenario, she got immediately, once he started kind of barking, this was a gentleman, so sorry, I keep calling him he, but he started asking just kind of fire drill questions exactly like you did, and she just couldn't keep up. Mentally, I think she was starting to kind of like freak out, and I think she was trying to exit out of the conversation just as quickly as she could.
So I think from the way I remember you telling it to me, and what I tried to do here was even coming up, well, how was your appointment today? Mm-hmm. It was fine. Mm-hmm. So that right there should have been the receptionist cue to go, something's not fine. Mm-hmm. And so she completely missed the tone, missed the sigh. If you could have seen my face, there was kind of an eye roll, eyebrows up. And so there was not a happy patient leaving there.
But I think she was too afraid. And I think this is what happens with a lot of our teammates. She was too afraid to ask. Oh, goodness, it seems like it wasn't a good visit today. Can you tell me more about it? And I get that. Because we want to avoid it. If we can just kind of avoid that whole conversation and get them out the door, we're like breathing a sigh of relief. But we've got to understand that doesn't solve the problem. Just because we don't ask and let's say the patient didn't say anything more than that, it doesn't mean that we skirted the issue. It's probably still going to come back to bite us, whether it's next time if he comes back, whether it's an online review that we didn't take the time to ask so that we could spot it coming. So I think she was so afraid she didn't pick up on that clue. And then she lit the flame when she asked for the copay. So if she would have said in that moment, oh goodness, it doesn't seem like it was a good visit. Is everything okay? And then that would have allowed the patient to go, well, no, I'm frustrated because y'all always call this like a special cleaning. And look, I was in and out of here in 45 minutes. That doesn't seem like a special cleaning. And let me ask, you're about to ask me for money, aren't you? That would have at least gotten it out so that she could sit and listen to that patient for a second and start formulating, what do I need to say? Instead, it caught her off guard. She asked for the payment, and then he's like, bear mode, and then she can't think. I think if she would have asked, oh gosh, it seems like it didn't go well today, she would have got a calmer response at first. Now, he may have escalated as he started talking about all that frustrated him, but he wouldn't have started off escalated. As soon as she asked for that money, it was like, he was on her, and she couldn't rally herself to kind of function in that moment.
So then the next misstep was after asking for the money, mm-hmm. and I guess the response was, why do I owe you this? Mm-hmm. And then, at least in my viewpoint, the thing that she kept missing was she kept going, well, it's a perio maintenance. What's a perio maintenance? And like we talked about in the last session, like things that are normal for us, they don't know what a perio maintenance is. Mm-hmm. Unless they're, in the dental field or unless they've been doing them for so long. I don't know. But the average person is not going to go, oh, yeah, that's my perio maintenance. I know what you're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's another thing that we tend to use jargon that is not necessarily understood by the patient. And then I start thinking, like, is the patient thinking we're trying to make this fancier than it is, or trying to spin it in a way to dupe them? And so I think if the receptionist had said, well, this is, I mean, you tell me, what would you have said if you were?
Well, so I would say that's where in last week's episode we talked about asking clarifying questions. And man, if she could have, what she was trying to do is answer what she thought was his question. And she kept saying the same thing over and over again. And that made it worse. That lit the fire even more. So if she would have paused and said, let's say he lit up and was like, yeah, y'all keep saying this is a perio maintenance cleaning. I don't even know what a perio maintenance cleaning is. Then if she would have said, oh goodness, okay, so it sounds like you're confused about the difference between a regular cleaning and what we call a perio maintenance cleaning. Is that accurate? Yeah. I don't know the difference. I don't understand why you have to charge that differently and why I have to pay for it. Oh, okay. So you're also wondering why it's a difference in payment. What
it is and why does it why does it not cost the same?
Exactly. And then if he's like, yeah, I want to know why it costs more and why it's different than a regular cleaning. It sure felt like a regular cleaning to me. And then she could ask, you know what? I feel like the person that's best able to answer the question about your cleaning is your hygienist. She's the one that's the expert on periodontal disease. Would you like to talk to her for just a second? Well, yeah, I would like to talk to her. Great. Let me grab her up here and let her explain that part. So then that hygienist can step in and go, hey, I heard you had some questions about what a periodontal maintenance cleaning is. Tell me specifically what your questions are, and I'd be happy to answer those for you. And then it just shifts, like, rather than let me bark back an answer to try to satisfy him, which is crazy when we think about it. Like, why do we think that's going to work, But instead, we kind of just calm it down and we try to get him to talk, but in a very controlled way. Because we're asking questions. He's responding to those questions. He's feeling like he's getting what he wants to say out, but it's done in a very controlled way, in a way that shows that we want to seek out what his questions are. I think, too, when we're the ones in control, we feel calm in that moment, right? Not that she would have felt comfortable through this whole thing. I'm not saying that. But if you feel like, hey, I'm calm, I'm asking questions, I'm seeking a response from him, there's something that can keep us calm as well. When we're just responding to what he's saying, we feel a little bit frazzled and out of control. You don't know
where the next attack or next bullet's going to come from and where I'm dodging it. So if you can be the one to control. I think the other thing that you've mentioned before that I think would have worked really well in here, in this scenario, would be if you can get to a quiet area. Because if this is happening like at the check-in desk or at the checkout desk that everybody can hear, maybe segueing into, let me get the hygienist for you. Why don't you come and have a seat here in our consultation room? It'll be a little more comfortable for you. And let me go find her. She's probably with her next patient, but let me go let her know that you're here. And then that way she knows where to find you. Yeah. And then that changes, like I think you were saying in the last episode, to changing the energy of the room. Hopefully if you can get the person sitting down, that's much less confrontation feeling than standing up. And then it's changing the energy. It's inserting a pause in the scenario there.
It really is. And this particular gentleman was very loud. He was asking questions very loudly, and it was audible to the waiting room. So I think in that particular case, when she went to get the hygienist, it would have been great for her. There was a consultation room literally 4 feet away, for her to be able to go, hey, you know what? Let's get you comfortable here for just a second while I go grab her. Have a seat right there. Can I get you anything while I run and grab her? No? Okay, good. Go and get the hygienist. And then also it changes the dynamic, because if you can imagine at a checkout station and he's standing at that checkout desk, where does the hygienist stand when she comes up? Does she go behind the desk and create that physical distance that says, I'm on the opposite side from you? Does she stand beside him? It creates a weird physical barrier. Whereas if he's seated in a consultation room, she can sit down right beside him, pull her chair kind of close to him, and body language wise says, hey, we're on the same page here. And plus, then that hygienist isn't in the limelight where the waiting room can hear what she's saying as well. It creates a little bit of a calmer environment.
Okay, so let's get to what the hygienist did right and wrong. Like what?
Yeah.
We've picked apart the receptionist. What about the hygienist?
Yeah. So I think she walked into fire, right? I mean, the bottom line is the front desk lady was like, please save this situation. And she walked into fire. What I think she did wrong, she did stay calm. And this particular hygienist has a very chipper, cheery, happy voice. Like all the time, she's like in this high octave. And so she never sounds like she's serious. It always sounds like she's just super happy all the time. And so when she came up, I was like, oh my gosh, it has to be her. Why is it her? And so she came up and asked the question, I heard you had a question about your periodontal maintenance cleaning day. So first of all, she used that same language again, rather than trying to kind of neutralize it and just go. And I think she was concerned, the original scenario, I think she was concerned, but it didn't come across as caring. It came across as, oh gosh, I've got a fire to put out, which is understandable. She had a fire that she needed to put out. But instead of it coming across as very genuine and warm, like, oh my goodness, I heard that there was some confusion about your appointment today. Tell me what I can do to answer, what I can answer for you or what I can do to help the situation. Instead, it was like, I heard you had some questions about your periodontal maintenance today. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there she goes again. And then sometimes we just have a disadvantage. Her voice is a disadvantage. And I have never heard her talk lower than that. It's not a fake voice. It is her voice. But I think it sounded so chipper compared to
I'm just laughing. That's so funny. Her voice is a disadvantage. So I just...
In this particular case, it is. Which it just had to be. It had to be. But I don't know how you're cracking.
Sorry, that's so funny. I just wasn't expecting you to say that, I guess. Like, I've never heard her talk lower. That's so funny. I was like, what do I sound like? And you're like, that's just what she sounds like. That weird cackle laugh of hers. Oh, Lord. Okay, I'll behave. I'm sorry. I'm done laughing. Go ahead.
But no, I feel like if she could have somehow figured out how to make it feel serious, I think it would have gone over better. And she kept doing exactly what the receptionist kept doing, which is periodontal maintenance. And I think it was just, that was what he was frustrated about. He didn't understand the difference. And they both kept using the same dang language.
Did nothing to clarify it.
No.
So this is where I was talking about, like, maybe just an element. I think I mentioned this in the last podcast. Just like an element of common sense. And what I mean by that is,
yes,
I always stop and go, would I be irritated? Would my dad be irritated? Would my sister be irritated? And I think that serves me well in a lot of situations, because I try to think about it from, if this was my friend or relative who went somewhere and then now they're telling me about what happened, I think... So, for example, yeah, if you are going to have to pay for your cleaning, but then why do I have to pay for my cleaning? Like, you just tell it in real terms, like what happened. Or, why do I have to fill out this paperwork? This is so stupid. And I'm like, I hate filling out paperwork. This is so stupid. So, but if you just come back at me with, we just have to fill it out. Well, that's just our protocol. Well, that's just our protocol. Mm-hmm. That's not an answer to a why. And so I think just stuff like that, like would my dad understand what a perio maintenance is? No, he wouldn't. So quit saying that over and over again. Same with, I think I talked about in the last podcast, the receptionist in my office who would just kind of keep repeating back. And I'm like, but you're not listening to what they're saying. They're trying to ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Why don't you think about it from, if it was your dad trying to ask the same question, how would you answer it for your dad? And would you keep just saying the same? No, you would explain it in layman's terms, what the real thing is. The only way I could see you not doing that is if you really didn't understand the concept. Mm. And that's where this receptionist would make stuff up. And I'm like, that's more dangerous than anything else. Because now in the last podcast, you talked about the uniformity of the answer. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you just made that up. So it's not like I can even be uniform or even a step down. You said the exact opposite of what the answer should be. So a lot of this points back to training of staff, and or, like you said, if you know you've got somebody with this high octave that's not taken seriously or whatever it is. I mean, there are people in our office that I won't let get engaged in a escalate situation. They're all tasked with kind of recognizing the signs and then tagging out quickly. So if I hear something, or if they come get the doctor or whatever it is, we've got one that she does not do well with with the parents. She's amazing with these kids, but she's just almost combative with these parents, and for no reason. Like, she's like, oh, this mom is like really impairing my ability to get these x-rays taken. I'm like, the mom's annoying, but she's not harmful. It's just she's annoying, but the assistant takes it personal on a lot of things. So she's never one I send in to go talk to an upset parent, because she's young. She doesn't have kids. So I don't think she can really get, which is funny. I have a feeling when she has kids, she's going to be one of those parents. I can see the writing on the wall right now. Whether she'll ever recognize that or not, I don't know. But anyway, she does not get to go talk to angry patients. Right. One of my hygienists, sweet as anything, sharp as anything, but she's got a country twang, and I can't understand what she's saying half the time. And, then she's got her mask on, and we've got our foreign patients with their own accents. I'm like, they don't know what you're saying. You're talking too fast with your, Texas twang with your mask on, and you're still using words like sealant and prophy and polish, and they don't know what you're saying, dude. So I never send her in to talk, because she's another one that repeats. Mm-hmm. She just repeats back the thing, and I'm like, you're not answering their question. So who do I send in? I have 2 or 3 in my office that really understand how to talk in layman's terms and sniff out the question. And again, back to be prepared, we almost get the same questions over and over again. Why do we have to do sedation? Why do we have to do nitrous? Why can't we do the filling? Like, these are all the same. So some of it's where they don't want to pay for that, but a lot of it is they just don't understand the recommendation to begin with. So if your team is not well versed in explaining, and they're just going to keep saying, oh, well, the doctor just recommends a crown. Well, the crown's just the best thing. Well, the crown's just the best thing for the baby tooth. Well, but that's what the doctor recommended, was the crown. It's like, you're not listening to the parent saying. They understand that I said crown. They're still wondering why it can't be a filling. Maybe not every parent needs the explanation, but some do. And this parent, if they've asked you twice and you just repeat yourself for the 3rd time, well, the doctor said I need a crown, then you're not listening.
No.
You've missed it. And so that's where you need to kind of tag out. And that's where I'm just like, you stop talking, and I'll call in one of my, I say, throw in my heavy hitters, because then they'll go in there and be like, no, your question's, why can't you have a filling? Why do you need a crown? Well, there's no way you can have a filling. There's decay here, 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 and here. Filling's not going to last. Doctor's not going to put nonsense on your kid's tooth. That's not what you want to pay for. That's why we're crowning it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or, no, I don't agree with that. Okay, you don't have to agree with that, but the doctor's still going to crown it.
Exactly.
I guess you're going somewhere else. You know what I mean? So I've got a couple that are very direct. And sometimes that can not go over well with the parent. But in our office, our type of patients that really, the niceness, they don't necessarily care for. A lot of them don't.
Right.
It's am I getting what is appropriate, and is it at a fair cost, is what my patients are more interested in.
Well, and I'm so glad you bring that up. Culture, background, all of that absolutely should sway the way that we respond to our patients with their questions or their anger, because there are different cultural norms. So you're in a very diverse area, very diverse patient population. There's a way with most of your patients that we can handle a confusion or even anger that's very direct, to the point, black and white description, and that is what they're seeking. You take that same strategy and put it into a small country town, and that strategy does not work. It's got to be salt and peppered with a lot of oozy goozy goodness, and if we're not putting that in there, in a, whatever demographic. So know your demographic, I guess, would be a good takeaway from this. Know what they need and what they're looking for.
Well, and case in point, my previous associate, who was from a small East Texas town. And so in my office, he kind of knew, he'd watch how we interact with our patients and what was successful and what wasn't. And he said now when he is starting his own in his small town, he's like, if you don't spend the 5-10 minutes building the relationship, talking about church and baseball and soccer and all of that, and you just jump straight to the dental, you're going to have an offended patient. And then the opposite is in mine. A lot of our patients, not all of them, but a good, 50%, let's please quit with the time. I don't have time for this. I've got to get back to work. I got to get my kid back to school. Yeah. You don't need to know about my weekend, and I don't need to know about your kid's soccer game. Tell me what my kid needs and get me out of here. Mm-hmm. So it's, again, kind of reading the room
Yeah.
And of course, within those demographics, I'm sure there's some of everybody. So I guess the point is reading the room. So smelling the smoke signal, a lot of that is synonymous with read the room. Like, what are you seeing? What's the vibe? What's the facial expression? What is all of that?
And ask those clarifying questions. And I would say, like in our example, the hygienist and perio maintenance, my recommendation is always find something. And maybe there's not something, but find something that you can apologize for. So, for example, this particular gentleman was truly confused on periodontal maintenance. And so what I would suggest is that hygienist comes in, like we said, I've heard you've had some questions about your appointment today. Tell me about that. Let that patient talk, as long as they need to talk to get it out. We call it deflating the balloon. Sometimes they just want to air out their grievances. And what we try to do when they're airing out the grievances is we try to talk about each of those sequentially as they bring up their grievances. And it doesn't work, right? Because as soon as we start talking, we blow air back into the balloon and then they get all filled back up again. So we want to, when somebody is upset, we want to let them talk. And as they talk, their balloon starts to deflate. All that hot air comes out and they come back to a point where they can logically talk through something. So if she would have stepped into hopefully that consultation room, said, I heard you had some questions, fill me in on those. And he goes on and on about perio maintenance, and that's stupid. It's the same thing as a cleaning, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't need to interrupt at all. Just let it all come out. And she's engaging. She's looking at him. She's shaking her head. Her body language is pointed towards him. So oftentimes our natural inclination is to turn away from that, right? So we want to kind of sit to the side or not make eye contact. So she is fully engaged, 100% straight belly to belly with him, listening, shaking her head, and then eventually he'll start to slow down. And then that's when she clarifies. You've said a bunch of things. I want to make sure that I'm hearing you correctly. You don't understand the perio maintenance. You don't understand that you have periodontal disease. Is that correct? Yeah, I don't understand that. Well, let me be the first to apologize then, because that means I have not taken the time to really tell you about what's different between those appointments. And I'm sorry for that. I see that that's led you to confusion, and that's on me. And then she can move on to explain the difference. But that apology in that moment, a sincere apology for something that we've done wrong, is absolutely appropriate. It's interesting. I was at an appointment for myself the other day, and I'm sitting in this small waiting room, and this daughter, probably about our age, brings in her very aging dad. And I mean, bless her heart. She's struggling with the door. She's struggling to get him to a chair. There's just so much struggle. And the lovely, you'll hear lots of sarcasm, the lovely receptionist lady is behind the glass, and the lady finally gets her dad seated, goes and stands in front of the glass. The lady's not there. She's off doing, whatever. I see the lady walk behind the front desk, so the waiting lady can see the receptionist.
The patient can
see the receptionist. And the receptionist sees her and keeps walking. And finally comes around, opens the glass. The patient, or the daughter of the patient, says, so-and-so's here for his appointment. And she says, oh, he's not today. And she said, I called a couple of hours. The patient's daughter says, I called a couple hours ago and confirmed that his appointment was today. And she was like, oh, no, ma'am. Nope, it's next Monday. And she said, the daughter's like, are you sure? Can you check? And she was like, yeah, tell me the name again. She said the name again. Can you tell me his date of birth? Said his date of birth. She's like, yeah, he's next Monday. And so the daughter's like, I don't understand. I called earlier to confirm before I loaded him up, before I brought him to this appointment. I called to confirm. Why would somebody tell me that his appointment is today? She was like, I don't know. It's next Monday. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh. And so she hands the lady the paper and she goes, let me see if I can do anything. So she hands the lady the paper and the lady sits down, and you can just tell, like, completely defeated. And so the receptionist comes out into the waiting room, and I was like, good job. You came out into the waiting room, which is a very good tactic for trying to de-escalate a person. Because
Well, she just escalated her.
Oh,
She single-handedly escalated her.
Single-handedly escalated her. But she comes out and she says, there's no time to get him in today. His appointment is next Monday. So we'll have to see him back then. And so she waited. So I was very surprised. She did a couple things. She did a lot of things wrong. But she came out to the waiting room. And then after she said that, she waited and was looking at the daughter, giving her a chance to say something. I thought she was going to come out and be like, we can't see you back next Monday, and here, take that paperwork with you. But instead, she paused. And I thought that was actually, I don't think there was any strategy. I don't even know why she did that. But it gave the chance for that daughter to say something. And so the daughter aired her grievances again. She said, well, I'm really frustrated. I got my dad out today. I called and confirmed, and they told me it was today. You know, I'm really frustrated by this. And the lady said, yeah, I know. I understand. We've got him down for next Monday, though, and you can take this paperwork with you. You don't have to sit here and fill it out if you don't want to. And then she was done. So a lot of things wrong. Again, it goes to, first of all, she didn't even pay her the time of day. Second of all, she never addressed her question. The question she kept overtly asking was, when I called today, why did somebody tell me it was today? And the lady would never address that question. And I'm like, maybe there was a simple reason. Maybe they made a massive mistake. Maybe she was owed an apology because she called and somebody told her the wrong date. None of that was addressed. It was glossed over, and the main message from the receptionist is, next Monday, next Monday, next Monday. And that just made the situation 10 times worse. I know if I were that lady, I would have reacted very differently than she did. I would have been inflamed. And she handled it, the patient handled it remarkably well. But that's a perfect example of throwing fuel on the fire. And the lady called. She talked to somebody. Let's at least find that out. Let's at least pretend like we're interested in that. And then if we made a mistake, apologize.
But see, medical doesn't do that. And I'm finding that too, because I am now the lady taking my dad into appointments recently. And I have just been appalled at the state of medical right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's because we're not private pay. I mean, like he's got, like a PPO and then Medicare secondary. And I don't know if that's part of the problem, but I was livid last week going, why does dental, we're offering coffee and we're confirming your appointments and we're having TVs and massage chairs. It's ridiculous. And medical, any medical people listening out there, I am talking to you and I would love to go head to head with any medical. I mean, I'll walk into any number. I mean, we have been in and out of so many doctors' offices now, and one is just as appalling as the next. The staff, I'm like, there is no way you would be hired in my office for even 2 minutes. At the last appointment, they had a, vote for us for best neurology and give us a Google review. And I literally held it up and I said to my dad, I was like, is this a joke? Is this a joke right now? You should not be advertising that you want Google reviews, because I would give you negatives. This appointment was so appalling. And anyway, so that's a whole nother issue. But yes, if this was our dental office where we're having to, do backflips and hand out cash practically for people to walk in the damn door, that would be the thing is, yes, acknowledge the question or at least apologize or something. Before we run out of time, I want to make sure, because we've talked about this one example ad nauseum with this perio maintenance, but I think, again, there's so much to be gleaned from this. We could see similar situations in our offices. Do you have any other examples, or should I say, I'm sure we have thousands, but...
We have thousands. One in particular that I am thinking about, it actually happened on your team. Well, guys, I am so sorry to leave you on yet another cliffhanger. Dr. Kuba and I realized as we got into this subject matter that it's so incredibly dense, and there's so many examples that we really wanted to bring to the table. When she and I normally teach on this subject, we've got hours to unpack this subject matter. So we've really had a hard time condensing it into 3 short episodes, and we ran super long on this particular recording session. So I've saved the other examples, including an example from Dr. Kuba's practice, for next week's episode. So please hang in there and stay tuned. We will unpack a couple more examples next week, and we'll kind of wrap up this subject matter of de-escalation. Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone. But we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.